The GameCube is my favorite console of all time, and even though it has a library that is extremely small compared to the likes of the Xbox or PS2, quality always comes first over quantity, and the GameCube library has one of the best selection of games you can ever play. Even though that's a bit of nostalgic bias saying that, you can't deny some of the epic games that are on this console. So I am here to showcase my collection of GameCube games. I have about 40 games in my collection. I don't have like every exclusive or every single game in the library of the GameCube, but regardless, I have a lot of games that I recommend for everyone. Some good, some bad, some in between. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first game, Power Rangers Dino Thunder, the video game. It's a licensed game, of course, THQ. There is a bit of false advertisement, I can't lie. You're playing as the Zords the entire game and not the actual Power Rangers, so it's more of like a collectathon action platformer. I haven't played it since I was a kid, but I remember not liking it that much, to be fair, but I love the Power Rangers in general, so yeah. Okay, next game, Lord of the Rings, The Third Age. I don't really know much about this game. It's like, you're not really playing the main cast of characters within the movie. It's like separate characters within the story, but like it's during the events of the film, like in sync, like parallel as the movie goes on, you're playing as these characters. I can't remember that much. I remember it was a turn-based RPG, but it wasn't as like compelling as something like Pokemon, to be fair. So yeah, nothing much to say for Lord of the Rings. NBA 2003. I'm such a casual basketball fan. I don't even know who this guy is. It's a standard EA sports game. What can I say? Ice Age 2, the Meltdown, another licensed game. We're gonna have a few in this video, I can't lie. But Ice Age 2, the Meltdown, based off the movie. You play as I forgot his name, man. The squirrel collecting acorns. Is it the acorns? Pine cones? That's what it's called, a pine cone, right? I feel like an idiot, man. You play as the squirrel collecting the pine cones throughout the game that he loves and is obsessed with. And it's a standard like action platformer, doing puzzles, jumping up platforms and over platforms, avoiding monsters and stuff. Nothing really much to say. It's just a standard licensed game, I can't lie. It has its nostalgia factor, I can't lie. Like, again, I love these movies, especially the first three. 2's up there. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised not many people talk about this. I don't know if this is like just a forgotten gem in the Sega community of games, but Sega Soccer Slam's like one of my favorite football games, sports games of all time. It's like a standard like 5-a-side, well, it's technically a 3-a-side game where you have like superpowers. If you're a fan of something like Inazuma 11, Blue Lock, Galactic Football, it's a really fun like jump in and jump out kind of game. Something like FIFA Street, it's completely down your alley. I might have to do a review on this because no one talks about this game. I don't know, like why does no one talk about this? It's such an underrated game. I've had so many hours put into this. I love football, I love soccer, so yeah. Like Mario Kart is one of my favorite franchises of all time. Double Dash is definitely up there. Possibly my favorite in the series of games. It's the first and only franchise to actually have 2 characters on one cart. Double Dash, introducing the double item cube, so you know the characters can hold 2 items at once, and you can switch over. Really cool mechanic. So many fun tracks in this game, especially Rainbow Road, Waluigi Coliseum, Bowser's Castle was pretty cool, Wario Stadium, Yoshi's Island. Also, they don't have this in newer Mario Kart games as well, but like every character has their own like special item exclusive to them. So like say Mario and Luigi will have like fireballs, Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong will have like giant bananas, the Toads will have like golden mushrooms, Bowser will have like a spiky shell, like a giant spiky shell. They should really bring that mechanic back in newer Mario Kart. So you never know. But Mario Kart, one of my favorite games of all time. One of the earliest games I remember ever playing. So one of my favorites. Time Splitters 2 is basically GoldenEye, but like with a time travel mechanic, and that has a lot more gun variety and is a lot more fast paced. It's extremely fun. It's definitely one of the best first person shooters of this time period. Definitely recommend multiplayer as well. And the gun variety is the best. And of course, like if you're a fan of time travel, like I'm a sucker for time travel stories, so you get a lot of cool like historic like periods that you get to travel through. The next game is one of my favorite genres, like in video games ever, is real-time strategy. So Pikmin 1, the first game, follows Captain Olimar, who crash lands on a planet where everything is pretty massive and giant, and he befriends like a bunch of aliens. And in doing so, you have to collect items to repair your ship. You have an army of Pikmin with these little green and yellow and blue creatures. You command them, you grow them, and like you use them pretty much to kill things, collect things, pick up things, and take things back to your ship. I love the premise of this. It's so Miyamoto. He thought up the concept of this game because he was just chilling in his garden. It's such a Nintendo thing. It's so charming. I love it. Though I haven't played the sequel yet and the third game, so I'm really behind on it. but I definitely want to do a marathon of these games very, very soon. Medal of Honor Frontline, I don't know if this came first or the movie Saving Private Ryan, but it has like the iconic game, has like one of the best like opening levels to a video game ever. It's pretty much the recreation of D-Day. For those who've watched the Saving Private Ryan, it's pretty much like that opening sequence. Notice that first like 30 minutes is the opening level for this, like the Normandy beach invasion. Super cinematic and like dramatic, and like it's very, very immersive. Yeah. The next game is a cult classic as well, with the likes of Pikmin and Mario Kart, and an exclusive, and it's one of the games that came out with the Gamecube on launch, is Luigi's Mansion. It's really fascinating to look back on the history of this, how a lot of people were like, what the hell is this game when it first came out, but then like it just slowly grew in popularity. Luigi's Mansion is basically Ghostbusters, but with the Mario Bros, where Luigi is invited to a mansion. He's looking for his brother Mario, who's missing, and he has to pretty much save Mario from this ghost-infested mansion with your trusty vacuum Ghostbusters-esque weapon, basically. Funny enough, I've never actually finished this game. I got up to the final boss, and I never actually completed it, so on the gaming bucket list eventually. Next two games in this series are very, very unique titles, and this is my gateway into playing Pokemon games, and it's the two GameCube exclusive Pokemon games, XD Gale of Darkness and Pokemon Colosseum. I always thought of it like a spiritual successor to the N64 games, Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2. Very, very cinematic. It's more narrative driven than like your typical Pokemon handheld game, which is pretty cool. And you play as a Pokemon Ranger basically. I prefer this out of the two, XD Gale of Darkness, where like you play as this boy who he's trying to like find his sister, and like you pretty much have to like capture and take over and rescue like shadow Pokemon. When you think of Pokemon, like especially at the time on Game Boys and stuff, like they're pixel games basically. It's all pixel art, but like this was like the first time it felt very, very cinematic, seeing like all the environments roaming around the world that you're in, and like all the character animations and Pokemon like attack animations, and the music. The music is I can listen to it any day. So yeah, and of course it has my favorite. This is pretty much my favorite generation. Generation 2 Lugia. We've got Suicune, Entei, Raikou. Yeah, like, and also like if you have a Game Boy and you have like the adapter, you can legit hook it up and like sync your Game Boy with. You can sync your Game Boy with the GameCube, which is pretty cool, and like share your data to it. It's because of these games my favorite Pokemon like ever are Espeon and Umbreon. Yeah, just saying. The next game is actually a very underrated licensed game. Continuing the licensed game trend, Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. It's a very fun collectathon platformer. Funny enough, it's actually made by the same guys who made SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, so like a very, very underrated studio. It's pretty much just like an interactive episode of like the classic Hanna-Barbera show. Similar to Medal of Honor Frontline, you have Medal of Honor European Assault. Again, one of my first like ever like FPSs I've ever played. It's the European assault of World War II. Nothing much to say. Again, it's pretty much like Frontline again, but like just more stories, more perspectives during this war period. Okay, we have our first Star Wars game on the list. We have Star Wars Jedi Outcast, Jedi Knight, so Jedi Academy, that's on the Xbox. Jedi Knight 2 follows Cal Katarn. Sadly, not a canon story anymore, thank you Disney. But we follow Cal Katarn, and he's kind of like, it takes place after the events of Return of the Jedi, so like Luke is like opening up his like new school, he's doing his thing. This is technically canon to the pre-Disney storyline and timeline of Star Wars events. Yeah, it's very similar to like something like Quake or Doom, where like you start off going through a lot of hallways and doorways and pathways and rooms. Yeah, as a shooter, like it starts off as a shooter, then like once you get your lightsaber, the combat dynamic completely changes. It even to this day, it still has one of the best like combat fighting systems in a Star Wars game ever. It's extremely fun. I definitely recommend it. The next Star Wars game is my favorite Star Wars game of all time, Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader. This is the best, most immersive like Star Wars experience you can have. You're basically a Star Wars cockpit pilot, and you pretty much go through the events of the movies and the books and like the rest of the canon as well. The first opening sequence is legit you in like Luke's X-Wing doing the Death Star trench run. That's the opening level. How flipping cool is that? We have like a lot more modern Star Wars games. To this day, this is the best like X-Wing flight simulator that we've had in a Star Wars game to this day, which is shocking. But one of the best Star Wars games ever, one of the best GameCube games ever. Rogue Squadron Rogue Leader. Check out my review in the link below for this game specifically. The next two games are the only two rhythm games I have had for this console, and again it's a very unique rhythm game, which is Donkey Konga 1 and 2. Yeah, I personally think this rivals the likes of Guitar Hero. This is Nintendo's Guitar Hero basically. This is legit Nintendo's Guitar Hero, and it definitely holds up. Yeah. Oh, a game franchise I've actually been playing recently just because I'm always in the mood for it. Another licensed game, of course, by Heavy Hand Studios. We have SpongeBob, the movie game, based off the classic 2004-2005 movie of the same name. Oh no, this is not Battle. This is Creature of the Krusty Krab. Okay, never mind. This is a very weird game. This is a very, very weird game. I can't lie. It's very, very weird. The developers must have been on something while making this. Yeah. Moving on to another classic and top 10 game on the console is Mario Sunshine. The main Mario game of the system. And a unique one of that as well. Mario's on vacation and he has a unique jetpack. Water-powered jetpack behind him. The mechanics are completely different to its previous game, 64, where you pretty much use water in this game to traverse, to get your way around enemies and obstacles. It's very, very unique, very, very fun. And what I like about this game specifically is that it's surprisingly difficult compared to other games of the franchise. You will die a lot. There's levels where your jetpack gets taken and you have to like do certain objectives and certain levels without it. It's extremely hard and actually takes quite a lot of skill. If you're a fan of like the summer beach vacation setting, whether it be fun fairs, beaches, villages, town squares, like volcanic islands, fun fairs, yeah, one of my all-time favorite Mario games ever. So yeah. From Mario to Sonic the Hedgehog, from Nintendo to Sega, this was my first, I guess, gateway into a lot of the 2D games of Sonic the Hedgehog, the Gems collection. Sonic CD was my, I guess, first 2D Sonic game, and it's a very, I'm till this day, I'm still very, very 50-50 on it. I love the level designs, I love the music, but the traversal mechanics from past, present, and future. But I'm curious what you guys think though. Sonic CD, I don't know, it's just a weird one for me. It's hard to describe. But besides that, I love the opening animation. The music is amazing. Yeah, we got Sonic. Oh, that's so weird. That's a fun, wacky one. And also we got Sonic the Fighters, an arcade-like Virtua Fighter Tekken-esque Sonic game. Another wacky one as well, but I had a lot of fun playing it. Yeah, pretty much the main three games. We've got Sonic the Fighters, we've got Sonic R Racing, and Sonic CD. I love the cover art for that. Oh my god, I'd get that as a poster. Sonic Gems collection. Banging menu music as well. Definitely a cult classic, I could say, for this era of Sonic fan. Shadow the Hedgehog. Yeah, like, bro, this is what you call renegade edginess. Growing up, Shadow the Hedgehog was my favorite character in the franchise. So, like, you have Shadow the Hedgehog as the main character of his own game, holding a gun, riding a motorbike. Like, what can get better than that? And then from Shadow to Sonic the Hedgehog, my first ever Sonic game, Sonic Heroes. Yeah, this is like a top 10 in the console for me. It's extremely fun. Fun traversal. A standard like Sonic game from getting to point A to point B, but this time with 3 characters. So you have like traversal mechanics, speed mechanics, and combat mechanics as well. Again, Crush 40 as well, one of my favorite like video game bands and OSTs out there. I love it. We got a very underrated game here. We got Wave Race Blue Storm. It's pretty much a jet ski racing game. A very arcade-like jet ski racing game. I don't know if it's Sega did this. Is Sega Nintendo exclusive? Actually, I did not know that. Okay, yeah. This game has actually been bought very, very recently. So an update to my collection as an adult, you could say, is Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes. The famous or infamous, depending on how you feel, remake of the first MGS on the PS1. This pretty much takes MGS1, upgrades it in graphics, and adds like John Woo-esque cutscenes. It's very, very over the top. It's still the same game, but it pretty much copies the mechanics of MGS2, Sons of Liberty, and adds that to the first game. A lot of people are a bit 50-50 on it because this game specifically has like the POV first person view, which you couldn't get in the first game. I think they had to redo the lines as well, the VA lines, and they had to switch out some of the voice actors, which it can be a minor or major inconvenience depending on the person and how hardcore of a purist you are. But to be fair, I still think this is like the definitive MGS version to play the first game, so yeah. The next franchise is, I'll mention them together, is the greatest couch co-op game ever. This game will bring you tears, it will bring you joy, it will bring you smiles, it will bring you rage as well, is the Mario Party franchise. I'll go over them one by one. So Mario Party 4 is my favourite video game of all time. Check out the review in bio as well. One of my favourite games of all time. Like, even to this day when I have friends over who've never even played a GameCube, this is the game that I'll introduce them to. It's very fun. The minigames are fun. The board game layouts are the best in the franchise. It has the best overall balance of like minigames, board gameplay, and like item mechanics. Tears will be shed playing this game. The next game is, we'll go in order. The next game is Mario Party 5. Again, same concept as Mario Party 4, 3, 2, and 1. But this time it focuses on dreams. Not as, I would say the mini games are still fun, but not as memorable, or even the board games aren't as memorable as Mario Party 4. Yeah. Mario Party 6 is definitely up there in terms of like best board layouts in the entire franchise. The mechanic for this is that it has like a day and night system. So like during the day, the rulings for the board game are different compared to the night. Let's say, for example, during nighttime, the board switches backwards, rotates, flips over, so you're going backwards basically. So if there's a star on the next space, you have to like go all the way around. Or like on another board, if it switches to daytime, a star space is worth 1 star, but during nighttime it's worth 3 stars. So like the stakes are even higher than your typical Mario Party, which is really, really cool. One of my favorite video games franchises of all time. I love this to death. Yeah. One of my favorite, if not my favorite, like licensed game, one of my favorite platformers of all time, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. For those who don't know, I'm a big SpongeBob fan. I'm a big platformer fan. I'm a big collectathon fan. Put those all together and you have SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. Ugh, I can gush about this game all day, all night. So yeah, it's just a good game, man. Like, even if you're not a SpongeBob fan, you'll enjoy it. As a SpongeBob fan, this is a love letter. Review in the description down below. Check it out. Okay, this is a unique one. I don't think this is available in the US, but I'm lucky enough to have it. Apparently this is quite rare. So we have Legend of Zelda, the promotional disc collector's edition. So it collects, it collects the 2 N64 games, so Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, plus the OG NES and SNES games, Zelda 1 and 2. This is great. Like, for those who don't have N64, this was my gateway into playing Ocarina of Time. And yeah, legit, like, the Gamecube was my first console, so my introduction to like classic Zelda was through this game. It's Zelda, like, what can I say? This is like pure fantasy escapism. Oh, mad. Yeah, bro, this is, I love stuff like this. I didn't even notice this, but if you check the back, it actually has the demo for the demo disc for Wind Waker, which is pretty cool, I can't lie, because speaking of Wind Waker, we have it right here. Look at that, man. My personal favorite Zelda game of all time. The fascination of looking back on history, how like very, very divisive this game was when it was first announced, because it was a very cartoony take on the Zelda story, and the fact that it was like a pirate story, because it was set like in a very like ocean influenced world where you're traversing from island to island, rather than like a typical like Hyrule Kingdom. In terms of the Zelda games, to this day, it's aged one of the best. It's aged like fine wine, and there's something so charming about Toon Link and like this version of Zelda, like Wind Waker specifically. The art style is there, of course, but the music itself is just meditation to my ears. It feels like I'm playing a Ghibli movie, the best way I can describe Zelda Wind Waker. So yeah, it's I don't know, there's just something so therapeutic about this game, which I love. One of my favorite games ever. Not just the GameCube, but yeah. If you're a fan of the tokusatsu genre, if you're a fan of superheroes, Japanese superheroes specifically, like Power Rangers, Super Sentai, and a fan of fighting games, check out Capcom's Beautiful Joe. Similar to the likes of Zelda Wind Waker, this follows a cel-shaded art style, so again, it's aged like fine wine. You pretty much play as a dude called Joe, who funny enough is a fan of superheroes. One day he's with his girlfriend chilling at the cinema, and all of a sudden he just gets transported into the cinema. He gets teleported into the movie itself, where he becomes a superhero and he has to like save his girlfriend, and in doing so he has to like take out enemies and so on. And he becomes a superhero, his name is Joe, and then he turns into Beautiful Joe. Henshin a go-go, baby! It's a very, very catchy, extremely catchy catchphrase, and extremely hard. It's such an underrated franchise. I hope Capcom somehow bring it back. I know he appeared in Marvel vs. Capcom. It's very fun, very, very difficult, but like the combat mechanics are definitely top tier. This is like prime Capcom, like Beautiful Joe, Resident Evil, Street Fighter Alpha, Marvel vs. Capcom. Like this was peak Capcom during this time period. So yeah, it's Beautiful Joe. This is arguably the best game on the console. Metroid Prime. To think Nintendo out of all developers would nail an FPS first-person shooter, combining the traits and mechanics of your typical like FPS from like say a Call of Duty, Halo, but like with the puzzle mechanics of like a Metroidvania, Super Metroid, Castlevania style game, and they pulled it off so smoothly. Like when I was playing this for the first time, I didn't even know like the main character Samus was a girl because you don't really see her face. So when you see her take the helmet off, you're like in shock. You're like, what? So that's a fun little memory I have. But yeah, the immersion in this game is really, really good. Like you legit feel on your own. You feel like a bounty hunter, like on this planet. Your task is pretty much, it's a great combination of puzzle solving and shooting. To put it simply, great music. One of the best menu themes ever. Oh, we got an OG classic here. We got Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. Probably on the lesser end of my favorites when it comes to Need for Speed, but regardless, it's Need for Speed. You know what you're getting into: racing, street racing, car customization, and running away from the police a lot. Yeah. Another recent addition to the library, I guess, in the past couple of years is a very underrated RPG, but it's growing in popularity recently, actually, which I'm kind of guessed about. Tales of Symphonia. It's your like standard like classic like Japanese like RPG with mages and wizards. If you're a fan of like anime, if you're a fan of like fantasy, anime fantasy, RPG, JRPGs. Oof, another sports game here, another classic throwback to the iconic 2002 World Cup. Korea, Japan. I think France and Brazil were probably the most OP countries in the game, and it makes sense because their teams were stacked. Yeah, FIFA World Cup 2002 was very, very fun. Ooh, another licensed game and very much inspired, I guess, or a rip-off of the Ratchet and Clank series. One of my favourite cartoons of all time, Kids Next Door Operation Video Game. This is one of my favourite cartoons. I used to watch this every single day or every single week on the Cartoon Network. I have a very soft spot for like 2000s and late 90s. Like this era of Cartoon Network was my bread and butter. Very much inspired by the likes of Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter. It's basically an interactive episode of the show. For those who don't know what Kids Next Door is, you're basically like these, in a world where adults are evil and like have evil intentions, you're in a world where kids are basically like super spy agents, undercover spy agents that live in like tree houses, and they have like really cool weapons and they have to stop adults basically. If you're a fan of the cartoon, why not give this a try? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Oh my god, bro, that's a Game Station sticker. Oh my god. Even when I was playing this as a kid, I didn't like care for it that much. All I remember was that the game would constantly just like bug out and like glitch out and turn off. I always thought it was my like disc specifically, but it turns out that was just like a common thing with everyone's game. It's a very, very glitchy game. Typical average generic license game. Simpsons Hit and Run with the likes of SpongeBob, Battle for Bikini Bottom, one of the best, if not the best, like license game ever. This is GTA but with The Simpsons. You can't go wrong with it. This is a love letter to The Simpsons. It's so fun. It's so, to this day, it's funny. It cracks me up. It's so good, man. I love this game so much. Oh man, yeah, I'm just gushing about this game so much, man. I'm sorry. I do apologize if I gush a lot in this video. But yeah, this is an all-time favorite for me. I can't lie. Oh, the next game is the most sold game on the Gamecube is Super Smash Bros. Melee. It's pretty much preposterous to have a Gamecube and not have this game. One of the best games ever. I don't think I've put so many hours into a fighting game than the Smash Bros. Series alone. Melee specifically. I would play this game from like dusk till dawn. I would legit go to my neighbors. They would come over to ours every day, and yeah, from adventure mode to multiplayer to arcade mode. It's a collection. It's the gathering of every single like famous popular Nintendo franchise, from Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Donkey Kong, F-Zero GX, Kirby. Smash Bros will forever be a pillar of Nintendo. It's so influential to the game space alone. It's just a fun game. I can't lie. The next game in the collection is Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex. This was technically I have this on the Xbox, but I can't remember when I got my hands on this version of the copy. But this is kind of like the fourth game of the franchise when it came out. Different developers, but the same style of game. It's Crash Bandicoot and Uka Uka fighting Cortex, but this time we have a mystery Bandicoot returning, who's like, I can't remember his name, man. What's his name? Crunch, that's it. He's like a big steroid Hulk like version of Crash, basically. My first Crash Bandicoot game, so it has a soft spot in my heart. Sonic Adventure, even though how cheesy it is, how like goofy the facial animation is, It's still like personally my favorite like definitive like Sonic experience, if you get me. Like it has the perfect blend of speed stages that you get playing with Sonic, the hub world exploration from like the city to the Mystic Ruins, to like the helicarrier deck on Eggman's ship, to like the forest area and everything in between. Plus you get to switch out and play with different characters, not just Sonic, but you're collecting Chaos Emerald shards with Knuckles. He can like float around and dig stuff. Sonic can run around with high speed and jump around places. Tails can fly. Amy can... What can Amy do? I can't remember what she can do. This was it, man. This was it for me. This was like where the passion for Sonic came from. This would eventually lead on to Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, where we are introduced to the GOAT, my boy, Shadow the Hedgehog. The speed stages alone are the best. Like City Escape, the again, one of the best opening levels ever. Like you're surfing down the city, you have City Escape in the background, the final boss fight where you go Super Saiyan mode with Shadow as well, and like Live and Learn, Crush 40 is playing. That's the boss fight music ever. And this is eventually going to be adapted into the upcoming Sonic 3 with Shadow the Hedgehog as well in live action, so I can't wait to see how that goes. I don't know, I'm just a sucker for Sonic, man. What can I say? And there's something so charming about Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't get it. It's just a little kid in me. But yeah, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. Another licensed game, Shrek 2, based off the movie of the same name. One of my favourite movie franchises ever. As I get older, the movies age like fine wine. It's funnier and funnier as you get older, which is just great. Shrek 2 is pretty much a couch co-op 4-player story where you pretty much just recreate and relive the events of the game, although there are some extra stuff that you get that weren't in the movies, which I think were on the cutting room floor in the movie, but they get fleshed out more in the game, which is pretty cool. More lore and more like world building within the Shrek universe. Well, every area in Far Far Away has its own like hub world. Like you can explore Shrek's swamp, you can explore Jack and Jill's farm, which is like a very unique premise that wasn't in the movies. You get to explore the castle in the movie. You get to explore like the main Far Far Away area, the potion area, the forest where you meet Puss in Boots. Especially with 4 players, it's extremely chaotic. The next game is my gateway into the space world of the Lilac system, which is Star Fox Adventures. It's basically Legend of Zelda but with Star Fox. Link is Fox McCloud basically. But it's really cool. You're pretty much exploring this dinosaur planet, trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and I think you're trying to stop like these dinosaur like raptor creatures. From what I remember, you have like a pet triceratops that follows you around, which is pretty cute. For some reason, I just specifically remember one annoying bit. Like I had a giant nitpick in the game, was that the C stick specifically was not to change camera, but it was to like change. It was like your item button, the C stick, which was so weird. I don't get the control layout for this game specifically, but it is what it is. Regardless, it's still like a very fun, enjoyable adventure. F-Zero GX. Most people know Captain Falcon of his Falcon Punch in Smash Bros. Melee, but he originally comes from the F-Zero franchise. It's like a Wipeout-esque world where like very, very futuristic, super fast cars basically that are going like 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's an extremely hard game. The game will make you cry. I don't know how people beat this game. It's so hard, but it's very, very fast. Like you'll get like vertigo playing this game. I can't lie. Definitely one of the best looking games on the Gamecube, and one of the hardest games I've played. Period. This is for you Dark Souls players out there. If you Dark Souls gamers, Elden Ring players, Sekiro players, play this and let's see how far you get. I dare you. I have like a distinct memory of playing this game specifically. I think I was invited. I was staying the night over at my friend's. It was like a sleepover. We were playing this all night, all morning, basically. Our favorite character, of course, Link. It's pretty cool because I think every edition of Soul Calibur 2, so I would have like an exclusive character. The Xbox version would have Todd McFarlane's Spawn from Image Comics. I think the PS2 version of this game had Heihachi from Tekken, and the Nintendo version, which to me suits the best of all, is Link from Legend of Zelda, because he's a sword wielding character. Most of the characters in this game are like sword wielding. Those who don't know much about Soul Calibur, it's basically Tekken but with swords, and it's a bit more like fantasy-esque inspired when it comes to like story and lore, I guess. Very, very fun game. Love the music, love the fantasy music. Again, if you add fighting games with fantasy, you have me sold. So I definitely need a replay of this very soon. And the last game in the collection is a game that I got to my hands on very recently. I finally have it in my library. This is the game that I've been wanting to play for probably over a decade now. I have the biggest smile on my face that I finally have this game in my hands. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. The Paper Mario franchise alone is elite. what I've been told, I've only played like 3 hours into it so far. I'm still playing it right now. So in terms of like Mario stories, they're not the most heavy, especially like your typical Mario story. It's basically, you know, save the princess and so on. But like these games actually have like a lot of world building, a lot of lore, a lot of build up, character growth, specifically for Mario and side characters. And it's plot focused. You don't get that in Mario games. So with this and a really, really fun quick action, like turn-based mechanic as well of gameplay, it's a win-win. From what I've heard from word of mouth, this game's a 10/10, so I'm not going to challenge it. I'm loving the game so far from what I've played. Yeah, it's really fun. So yeah. And yeah, guys, that was my GameCube collection. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. What's your favorite game in the library of the GameCube? But like I said, it's not the biggest compared to the PS2, but what I always say, quality over quantity all the time. Yeah, so yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please let me know down below what you guys think. What's your favorite GameCube game? And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.